The government has registered Media Council bill at the parliament designed to curtail press freedom. On the face of widespread criticism on this latest government move, it would be intriguing to see the government's response. Good morning, I am Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. Government trend of revising the budget following endorsement of the large size from parliament continues. 48 billion rupees reduced from development budget this fiscal year. Government introducing bills to threaten sectors that can be self-disciplined, legal arrangements for control of press posing threats on democratic practices. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison thanks voters for re-electing his Conservative coalition. Opposition Labour Party leader announces retirement. And Manchester City thrashed Watford 6-0 to win the FA Cup title. Pep Guardiola's side complete the domestic treble. The government is found to increase the size of budget every year. However, the budget presented at the parliament, which is not even entirely spent, is revised during the mid-fiscal year. The ministry is found to arbitrarily revise the budget, which is presented to the parliament by allocating priorities and resources. The government had presented the budget of 1,278 billion rupees for the fiscal year 2017-18. However, midterm analysis reduced the size of the budget to 1,099 billion rupees. Development budget was reduced by 16% back then, of which only 70% was spent. The same trend has been followed in the ongoing fiscal year as well. The two-third majority government, which had presented the budget of 1,315,160 billion rupees, had reduced the capital expenditure from 313.99 billion rupees to 265.26 billion rupees. The government reduced the size of the budget following failure to ensure the expected development works. Despite presenting ambitious programs in the budget at the parliament for popularity, no government so far has been able to ensure the sound implementation of the budget. It is normal for slight changes in determination of the budget. However, getting the parliament to endorse budget based on one structure and then changing the priorities while implementing is blatantly eluding the parliament. More than 3/4 of the budget is spent on salaries and benefits. It is the lack of capacity in the government to ensure the expenditure of development budget, which barely makes 1/4 of the budget. Only 40% of the development budget has been spent in the 10 months of the current fiscal year. Instead of including programs that will never be implemented and increasing the size of the budget, the government should introduce budget based on its spending capacity. The government has already introduced the Media Council bill that provisions a fine up to 1 million rupees on media outlets. Likewise, it has prepared an umbrella act including 3 bills related to media, which has provisioned a fine up to 10 million rupees. These provisions that have been introduced with the logic of maintaining civic discipline in the society have raised questions whether the state is inclined towards working for moral policing. Defending the wide criticism from the community supporting press freedom, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and his aides have been saying that these legal provisions are being introduced to control and curtail the moral practices in the society. It is the basic responsibility of the government to maintain peace and ensure security to the society. It is understandable that no one and no sector is above the law. There are a few sectors in societies where controlling with introduction of strict laws would not be appropriate. Press is one of those sectors which is inspired to remain under moral boundaries with self-discipline, regulation and monitoring. A democratic state implements wider perspective on press, which is the major medium that uses the constitutional rights of information, communication and freedom of expression. Political analysts are of the opinion that setting legal boundaries on writing, speaking and making opinions with provisions to treat them as acts of crime is likely to shrink democracy. There are examples where strong laws have been introduced to control social culture and to ensure sound implementation of laws. Despite having a correct objective, they were against democratic norms and values. It has almost become a trend for governments in Nepal to form a group, a committee, commission or academy of experts to help them with suggestions and recommendations. Despite the appointment of notable figures of the society to gain popularity, the governments have largely failed to ensure a sound tenure for the experts. Following the recent resignation of the coordinator of Policy Research Academy, Professor Chaitanya Mishra, curiosity is at rife regarding the reasons the experts do not prefer government appointments. The government had instituted a 5-member think tank led by recognized sociologist Chaitanya Mishra on the 23rd of September last year. Coordinator of the academy, which was formed to recommend the government with inputs on improvement in financial, social and political affairs, resigned in 8 months' time. Despite Mishra citing personal reasons for his resignation, he is understood to have resigned because of lack of government support. This is not the first instance where the government has decorated its circle with recognized figures and then compelled them to resign by not creating a conducive environment for them to operate at capacity. Around 2 decades back, Professor Krishna Khanal, who was appointed as an advisor during the prime ministerial tenure of late Girija Prasad Koirala, had resigned, saying the premier had ignored consultations. A decade back, when Pushpa Kamal Dal held premiership, geography expert Professor Pitambar Sharma quit his role as the vice chairperson of the National Planning Commission in 100 days. Analysts are of the opinion that intellectuals and experts do not survive their roles in the government because of the failure of the political leadership in ensuring them a proper environment and ignoring their recommendations. Such experts could provide the government with significant ideas. It would be in the best interest for the government to consider and work on their recommendations for formulation of policies and programs. However, the governments have largely failed in reaping benefits from such experts. It was the 2563rd Buddha Jayanti yesterday. The day was celebrated as the birth anniversary of Gautam Buddha with a lot of fanfare. In this context, we'd ask the visitors at Lumini how they have been implementing the teachings of Gautam Buddha. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
बुद्ध शिक्षा भनेको एउटा स्पिरिचुअल र यो प्राकृतिक पथ हो र यो चाहिँ संसारकै एउटा कुनै सम्प्रदायले डिभाइड गरेको छैन यो हरेक सम्प्रदायलाई त्यसमा गाँस्ने काम गरेको छ
यो बाटोमा लाग्दा जीवन कल्याणकारी हुन्छ र जीवन एउटा असल नागरिक एउटा असल मनुष्य बन्नको लागि एकदम यो बुद्धको मार्गले एकदम राम्रो भूमिका खेल्दछ
शान्ति प्राप्त गर्ने त्यही यो संसारमा शान्ति भन्दा ठुलो केही पनि छैन भनेर मैले चाहिँ त्यही नै पाएँ विपश्यनाबाट
जीवन जिउने कला सिकाएको छ र शान्ति बिना संसारमा केही गर्न सकिदैन भन्ने कुरा पाठ सिकाएको छ
It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, why is the Kathmandu metropolis purchasing more groomers when the existing are not functioning well enough? Your options are A, to show work, and B, commission game. The voting is on. You can type any WS, select your option A or B, and then send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. With this, let us move on to the sports news.
Sports news.
Manchester City humbled Watford 6-0 to win the season's FA Cup title. With the FA Cup success, Manchester City have completed the domestic treble in England. City led through David Silva in the 26th minute in the one-sided match. Gabriel Jesus doubled City's lead in the 38th minute as the first half ended with a 2-0 advantage for Pep Guardiola's English Premier League winners. Manchester City piled more pressure on Watford in the second half as Kevin De Bruyne found the net in the 61st minute, while Brazilian forward Jesus scored his second goal of the match in the 68th minute. Raheem Sterling scored twice within the last 10 minutes of the match. It was Manchester City's 6th FA Cup title. Prior to this, Manchester City had won the League Cup, where they had seen off Chelsea in penalties and had successfully defended the English Premier League title on the last game week. It was the first FA Cup for Pep Guardiola. The Spaniard has won 6 trophies with Manchester City since taking charge of the club in 2016. His side won a total of 50 matches across all tournaments this season. Bayern Munich have won the season's German Bundesliga title. Bayern Munich thrashed Eintracht Frankfurt 5-1 in the very crucial and significant last game week fixture played at their home ground Allianz Arena. Kingsley Coman first found the net for the host in the 4th minute of the match. Frankfurt equalized in the 50th minute through Sebastian Haller. However, David Alaba reinstated Bayern's lead with 3 minutes later. Bayern then scored 3 times as Renato Sanchez, Frank Ribery and Arjen Robben found the net. The win meant Bayern amassed 78 points and brushed aside their nearest competitors Borussia Dortmund, who finished with 76 points after a 2-0 win over Borussia Mönchengladbach. Back in December, Dortmund had a 9-point lead over Bayern Munich. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 a.m. Keep watching Kantipur Television SD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day ahead.